everyone. I am here today with Matthew Street, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his experience with ePortfolios, both as a student but also as an instructor. So Matthew, if you wouldn't mind, can you quickly just introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. Hi, I'm glad to be here. My name is Matthew Street, and I'm a lecturer in the Spanish department here at UVA. I'm currently on my 8th year working here, and I have worked with the Accelerated Beginning Spanish course for my entire career here, as well as led UVA and Costa Rica study abroad program a few summers ago.
Perfect. And you are currently a student in the School of Education and Human Development. What program are you currently a student in?
That's correct. I am in the Masters of Curriculum and Instruction with a focus on ESL. I've been teaching ESL for about 2 years now with a program called VIP Kid. And when I got into that, I was really interested in learning more about teaching ESL. So I took a couple of classes, and then before I knew it, I'm enrolled in the master's program, and I am halfway finished with that master's degree. So that's good.
That's so exciting. So I figured we would just dive into the questions, if that's okay with you. So the first question I wanted to ask you is, how have you utilized ePortfolios within your courses, especially within your Spanish classes?
So that is a great question. How have I utilized ePortfolios? So I started using ePortfolios, I believe, in 2015. We were part of an ePortfolio grant program here at the University of Virginia, and the preceptors, which is the coordinators of the particular courses or the co-coordinators, were tasked with creating a portfolio. So I created a portfolio for Accelerated Beginning Spanish, and I chose a portfolio that would demonstrate student growth over the period of a semester. So students could see and control, can see and reflect on their growth throughout the entirety of a semester. And I've also used ePortfolio in the UVA Study Abroad program, where students completed contextualize activities that included the grammar inductively, where they could also chart their journey via study abroad by collecting photos and things like that, but also practicing what they've learned in the classes that they were taking during the study abroad.
So it sounds like you have a lot of experience utilizing ePortfolios. So do you feel like you've seen benefits, or have students voiced benefits of incorporating ePortfolios into this course?
For sure. I've seen a lot of benefits for incorporating ePortfolios in the class. When students can see their progress and reflect on their progress, they become more self-aware of themselves as language learners. They become more self-directed learners, and they can witness their progress over time, which also can help develop intrinsic motivational factors. And I've seen it. So the course portfolio for the Accelerated Beginning Spanish class, which is the entire first year of Spanish in one semester, students begin with a monologue video where it's basically a sample of where they started in the class. This is like an anchor point. And then the ePortfolio anchors at the end with a final monologue video where the students can see how far they've come over the course of these 12 to 14 weeks. And through that, I've seen students develop their own voice in Spanish. They can occupy a couple of different registers. They enhance their intonation and rhythm and flow. And the ability to collect all the work and have the reflection component has been a wonderful benefit. And another thing to mention about the ePortfolio is, like, how is it assessed, right? So the ePortfolio for the Accelerated Spanish class is a mixture of low stakes and high stakes assessments. So students are given the traditional assessment that students are given all throughout all universities, right? The pen and paper, how well can they regurgitate grammar rules that they were told. But the ePortfolio then provides another way that they can take risk in a low stakes environment to practice these things and get feedback from their peers as well as the professor. But as well as low stakes activities, there's also high stakes activities that students were already doing in these classes, like bigger cultural projects, bigger final video projects where there's an element of collaboration among the two. So these are some of the things that particular activities where I've seen students progress exponentially in comparison with class without the ePortfolio.
So it sounds like there's a lot of benefits that instructors can see with students utilizing ePortfolios. But how do students respond? Have you heard them talk about ePortfolios in general? Do they like it, or are they just like, oh, it's something else that I have to do for this class?
So that is a great question about the student perspective, because it is very important that students understand and like what they're doing and make learning fun. Then students are see the class for more personal enrichment reasons instead of I just need to get this grade on my transcript. So explaining the rationale for the ePortfolio has been very important to my students, but also helping other teachers explain the rationale to their students, like the buy-in, to get students to buy into the idea of the ePortfolio. And I think once students see their progress and they see how useful the tool of the ePortfolio is, and they see their progress, the results are overwhelmingly positive. And since there's a ton of low stakes activities, the super grade conscious student is regularly getting excellent grades by simply engaging wholeheartedly with the material. That's the kind of the essence of the low stakes. But for the sake of our interview here, I looked back through some final reflections from the students, and where they reflect in English about their experience with the ePortfolio, and I pulled a couple of quotes. And what one student mentioned, I really enjoyed the activities. Having more creative freedom really helped me learn the material. We give students choice with the cultural project and the video project. We want them to seek out something that they're interested in and demonstrate that and show why that they're interested in that. Another student said, I love the ePortfolio activities because it was the only time I could hear myself speak Spanish, and it helped me learn. And this is in reference to the monologue videos and the other speaking components that were part of the ePortfolio. Another student says, I put so much time on it, but I think it was worthwhile, especially years later when I look back to my Spanish learning process. I will remember what I've done and feel proud about it. And that kind of gets to the core of, I think, the value of the ePortfolio. Like, it's something that a student owns, that they can demonstrate that this is what their level of Spanish is or was at that particular time. But hopefully we can get students to adapt like the portfolio mindset, right? So sure, students were creating portfolios for Spanish class, but we would like to promote the idea that ePortfolios are a tool that students should be creating to chart their own progress through their experience here at the University of Virginia, where the ePortfolio essentially can be the bridge between their transcript and their diploma. So when they're applying for jobs where there's a ton of other people as qualified for them, they have these documents in their resumes and CVs, but they can also submit a professional portfolio that kind of individualizes their experience, and they may be the better fit for this particular job for which there's more than one qualified person. So I think that is the kind of the ideal of the ePortfolio, is to promote this. Hey, we need professional portfolios, especially nowadays in this age that we're in. I created a professional portfolio for myself, and I know many of my other colleagues have as well.
So we talked about some of your students, but I wanted to get your perspective because you're currently a student here at the School of Education and Human Development. So have you had to use ePortfolios as a student? And if so, what was that experience like? Was it weird to kind of flip and have to build it and not necessarily be the grader of the portfolio?
So unfortunately, none of the classes that I've had at the Curry School, while they have all been awesome, they have not included an e-portfolio element. However, I've created portfolios for several of the classes that I've taken. And for those portfolios, I put my own work there, and I've shared my work with the professors, and then those, one of the things is added to my professional portfolio. For example, a project that I did in cultural sustaining pedagogies with Professor Ford. At the end, she asked us to rewrite or write our teaching philosophy through the lens of cultural sustainability. And so that very useful project at the end is now the front page of my professional portfolio, where it details my teaching philosophy, and it incorporates the very important aspects of cultural sustaining pedagogy that I learned in her class. So I would like to see more portfolios used in the Curry School, because they're very valuable, and you don't have to keep going to your search menu to find documents that you did in a folder from however many semesters ago. You can just pull up your website, and there those documents are.
Yeah, definitely. And I've noticed that we don't have a lot of classes that utilize ePortfolios. So I'm hoping that through your interview and this month's spotlight, we'll be able to get more incorporated within the School of Education, because it's definitely a great resource and a great way to showcase your work. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping that they listen to you and me, and that we'll see more incorporated. So my last question for you, because we don't have a lot of classes that have ePortfolios incorporated in them. So do you have any advice for instructors that watch this video and they want to incorporate ePortfolios in their course? So what would you tell to them if they're going to incorporate it in their course for the first time?
Yeah, I would say start relatively small. Have students perhaps do, like, if a project is scaffolded and has multiple steps, a portfolio is great for that, because each step can be a section of a page of a portfolio or another page. So then the student can see their progression in maybe a proposal, then a rough draft, then an edited version, and then their final project. And then it also enables commenting in a virtual community. You know, the platform I'm speaking about in general that I'm the most comfortable with is Digication. And Digication allows for students to comment on other students while protecting the privacy of students, and it's shared only within a particular environment. So particularly start small, but any class that has a multimodal types of perspectives, then I think the ePortfolio would be great for that. If students are student teaching or recording themselves in the simulator, this would be great to embed on an ePortfolio, because then you can add a reflection component where students could reflect on how they did, and it's not in a separate spot. It's their video of their experience in the simulator under reflection about how that went. If students are writing lesson plans for a particular class and drafts, they could have the lesson plan, feedback from the professor, feedback from the peer, then right under it have the updated version, and then reflect on the process. I gave this class, how did it go? What worked? What didn't work? So this sort of making learning visible is a key element of the ePortfolio. That is a philosophy that I have really taken hold of and love to promote, because it is so true. When students see their projects unfold, their learning is visible to them. It's literally right there, albeit in a virtual world. But since most of our experience now is virtual, having a virtual page that demonstrates your learning is a positive use of our time and a very productive teaching tool.
So those are all the questions I have for you. Thank you again so much for being willing to be interviewed, and I hope that your video inspires more faculty over at the School of Education and Human Development to incorporate ePortfolios into their curriculum.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's been a pleasure to participate in this with you. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, you too.